welcome back. It's time for The Way It Is. We'll talk a lot about the current political situations in the country. And Member of Parliament Alex Wahome has come under fire after remarks she made about, basically trashing the president. And we have a clip of the president talking about the same in reference to his tenure and possible term extension, as some are speculating on. Let's take a look at that and then we'll continue with the discussion.
Is the special purpose vehicle, SPU, the special purpose vehicle, heading to the route that has been suggested by Murathe, Atwori, and Beth Mogo? And I'm sure Kenyans must be thinking Murathe is dreaming. No, I don't think Murathe is dreaming. I don't think Atwori is speaking from nowhere. I don't think Beth Mogo, who is a close relative of Uhuru Kenyatta, is also speaking from nowhere. When we made our constitution and put provisions of a term limit, we did not put the limit of age, because we expected that even at 70, if Kenyans want you to be their leader, then you'll be elected. But we did not also say that the qualification for you to stay is your age.
I'm surprised that Alice Wahome, less than a week, she is auditing the same. She has started auditing the same. She's not supposed to audit. I'm a free and independent person coming from a very independent organization and a person who respects the views of others. I am not a state house operative. And Alice wants to make people, Kenyans, to believe whatever we say, we are being asked to say what we want to say. Can we also say that what she was saying during the funeral, she had been sent to say what she was saying before the head of state? Kenya is a free country, as she was advocating, and the president responded by telling her that he will guard the freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of democracy, and freedom related to our constitution.
Right, a back and forth on those sentiments and the speculation on whether the president is going to extend his time, and basically some people feel like he will go on as a prime minister. Now the constitution is clear, Mr. Weda. Would you please just elaborate what it says about the president, and if in case he is seeking to move on, there would have been changes in being pushed for already right now. So
thank you so much. I think the Constitution gives the president a 5-year term limit.
Yes.
You go for elections again, you do 5 years. If you have done 10, you're out. Mm-hmm. For you to continue to run again, to be eligible, mm-hmm. that term limit has to be removed the way it was done in Uganda.
Yes.
To do so requires a constitutional process that involves a referendum. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that...
And how long would this take?
That would require almost 1 year. Mm-hmm. You have to collect views. There must be some kangaroo people collecting views. Then they say, the people of Kenya have told us they don't have this term limit.
Yes.
Then they recommend and they do a report, maybe BBC or mm-hmm. BBD. Mm-hmm. Then building term limits initiative. And then after that, it will be brought to Parliament. They'll pass it. Then it is brought to us for a referendum.
Yeah, so
if those initiatives were there, you would be able to see and say, I suspect. Mm-hmm. So far, those initiatives are not there. Mm. If President Uhuru was to continue as a prime minister appointed by the president, or as a cabinet secretary, mm-hmm. or as MP for Gatundu South or Central, or senior MCA Chaweri Ward, mm-hmm. that is not increasing or whatever is term limit. That's a different scenario. Yes. It happens elsewhere. So to say that he wants to extend his term, right, I would say we have not seen indications. But remember when President Moi was leaving, mm-hmm. the last time, I think you must have been very young, everybody kept on saying, he doesn't want to leave. Yeah. And President Moi kept on saying, I am going. Yeah. We never trusted him. Mm-hmm. Even when the Honorable Kibaki had been sworn in, yes, we were still saying, no, the guy must leave State House. If he does not leave, he will go and do some adabra-kadabra, some game. Yeah. And when the helicopter was taking him back to Kabarak, people are like, check that helicopter, it can come back. So he went and has stayed steadfast, respectful, disciplined, and he has done a great life that grows this country.
Absolutely.
President Kibaki. They said, oh, you have built Gorofa roads. We need you. We love you. President Kibaki came and said, wachana you had to come on and depend sana. Wacha hiyo maneno.
Right.
We didn't believe it until he left.
Yes.
Now, President Uhuru also, it's the same scenario. We're saying the way he looks, the way he's laughing at people, the way he is charming. We think this is directed towards extending his term. Honorable Alice Wahome, my senior colleague in the profession, may also be just suffering that fear that we had.
Yes.
And I would only urge her that her fear is valid. As a legislator, it would be right that to be alert so that any sitting president does not think about removing the term limit. It's important for this country. But to say that is planning, let's wait and see until the president takes concrete steps.
Yes.
So far, no step has been taken. And those steps are constitutional, and they must involve a referendum. Otherwise, let's also not make the president look bad.
Yes.
So that when he walks here and say, hey, how are you people? How are you doing? Then we're saying, he's doing this, how are you? So that we say yes to term limits. That is not fair. It is not. Our big brother, Honorable Atuoli, and some people, it is actually not right to say that the president is too young.
Yeah. But this could just be personal opinion, as he was saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying as a leader.
Yes.
He's a leader. He's a local and international leader. If he wants an extension of term limit, let's not let our children and grandchildren not hear that somebody is so young he is going nowhere. That's a wrong reason.
Right.
The only reason you can say somebody is you can say this one is so good that nobody else matches that bill today. He's not saying this. He's just saying, so would urge him that we love him so much, but Kenya is not Kotu. Kenya has several tribes, several communities, several people, several age groups, several gender. All these things, you have to balance them.
Yes.
So it may be easy in Kotu to say, where do I go? I'm still young.
Right.
But in Kenya, the interest of many people may dictate otherwise.
And I mean, Alice Wahome, if I'm not wrong, that was her New Year's sort of message.
Yes.
It came out of nowhere, in my view. I mean, and she has been described as an ally of the deputy president, which brings us back to all those sentiments of these people who attach themselves to certain principles. Are they speaking for themselves, or are they speaking for these principles? And why now? What prompted
Let me say
that?
3 things.
Yeah.
Alice Wahome, that I know as a lawyer,
Yes.
can be very robust. She was very robust in the legal profession. Can be very robust and independent-minded.
Yes.
She is in the category of the likes of Martha Karua, Millie Odhiambo. They can be very robust anywhere, anytime. You have to cool them and say, poor kidogo. So that could have been part of it. Secondly, she's also very brilliant.
Yes.
She can see the future. And the future, the first future may be with Honorable William Samoei Ruto. So what do? You bolt out now so that you become prominent in good time, so that if Honorable Ruto's kingdom comes, then they'll be the elders in the kingdom. They will be cutting the cake.
Right.
So that may be. Number 3, these term limits and so on are things which we have fought for. They didn't just come because we loved them. People pushed. And somebody may be looking at it in terms of conscience. So he's saying, yes, I'm a Kikuyu from home. But if you are to allow this, the overall picture, it will mess up the country. So let me take it and deal with it. Number 4, you must get something rough and risky for you to come out of the crowd. Now we are all discussing Honorable Alice Wahome.
Yeah.
We are all castigating her or praising her.
Sure. That
That is good. Good. When I teach lawyers soft skills, I tell them publicity. You look for it. The rest you can correct.
Right.
If you are going to bite a cat, bite it. Then now slowly you say, I'm very sorry about that. But everybody knows. You can see we talked about Honorable Moguna and his Twitter handle.
Yes.
He just typed something, 2 million.
Yes.
So she may also have wanted to come out of
be
the
a
crowd
strategy.
early enough so that come 2020, her face is on the Pentagon, whether it's Raila's Pentagon or Honorable Ruto's Pentagon or there is a witch caucus. So looking at it, I can only say that the decision was based on focusing on the future.
Right.
She was focusing on the future, not current.
Absolutely. Now, as we focus on that, let's take a look at the responses. You've talked about her being castigated.
Yes.
Some of them are saying we are dragging the president into dirty politics, but well, the politics of the country is always dirty. Is there a way to go about getting what we want without this sort of, sometimes tawdry approach?
No. Let me tell you, Honorable Raila taught me one thing. Told me, remember, many years. He said, you get the big tree and you attack. And he said, you see, when I faced Moi, I was fighting. I was not mixing people. If you want to branch out today, you either attack Honorable Ruto or Honorable our President Uhuru Kenyatta or Honorable Raila Odinga. If you go there and attack Hon Didymos Barasa, I mean, I'm not saying it's solo. I'm saying I'm using him because my friend is my friend.
Yes.
And I'm talking in a funeral in Luo language. This Barasa, people are like, what's wrong with this guy? But when I say President Uhuru must go, everybody's like, what do you mean? What is he talking about? So the attacks will go on because it gives you quick attention.
Right.
And for now, I think it is perceived that you now attack Honorable Ruto, you get attention. The next person you can attack, because Honorable Raila is now quiet. It's now smooth. So being smooth, you can't just wake up and attack him. The only other person you can attack is the president. And you can see you attack them. And the other people come. And then it becomes a big thing. You can quietly attack in a tweet. Yes. Then now they come, what is he saying? Why is he doing this? Blah, 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 blah. So that is a tactic. It is a strategy. And it works. It has worked over the years. You remember Trump?
Yes.
Honorable President Trump?
Yeah.
He used to attack Obama. Obama was not born here. Obama. So all these things, you have seen Honorable Raila, he used to attack President Moi when nobody else could dare. Yes. And people are saying, wow. So it is a political, social, and communication strategy.
Now, let's shift to another issue politically. Amani National Congress Party, ANC, is now calling for a snap election, saying the political tension between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto through his proxies was making the country ungovernable. Now, the party's deputy party leader, who is a Lugari Member of Parliament, Ayub Savula, claims the attack on President Kenyatta by Kandara Member of Parliament Alice Wahome, who is a close ally of the deputy president, is a clear statement that Ruto is determined to rock the Jubilee Party from within, and the only solution by the president is by the president dissolving his administration to pave way for fresh elections. Duncan Haimba brings us this one.
That the biggest existential threat to Kenya's declining economy and democracy and freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of political affiliation and growth is Uhuru Kenyatta.
That was her New Year's message to the country as the second-term Kandara lawmaker Alice Wahome followed the president to the coast to deliver her hard-hitting message at his holiday doorstep in Mombasa. The two had shared a podium 3 days ago in Murang'a County during the burial of multi-party democracy icon Charles Rubia, and it seems that is where it all started.
Mheshimiwa, na mimi usiseme na kuingilia. Sikuingilii.
Raila Odinga is his new political machinery for hire. And the BBI itself, the BBI process, the BBI report as expected, the BBI is the special purpose vehicle.
The Wahome political storm has attracted the attention of Amani National Congress, with its deputy party leader Ayub Savula claiming the Jubilee Center no longer holds.
You just crack the whip and say, if my deputy cannot work with me and is working with my political detractors on the ground, then let's dissolve this government. We go back to an election. Because they were elected a pair. And you know very well, and I can confirm to you that the Tanga group belongs to the deputy president. Why can't we give time this guy to work?
Savula says the political noise from Central Kenya has become too much.
The Central Kenya MPs are behaving like hired goons, worse than hired goons. And we want to know who is hiring them.
The Kandara Member of Parliament, in her remarks, claimed there was a plot by the president to cling on to power through the establishment of an executive prime minister position with the help of lethal political power brokers.
No, I don't think Murathe is dreaming. I don't think Atwoli is speaking from nowhere. I don't think Beth Mugo, who is a close relative of Uhuru Kenyatta, is also speaking from nowhere.
I am not a state house operative. And Alice wants to make people, Kenyans, to believe whatever we say, we are being asked to say what we want to say. Can we also say that what she was saying during the funeral, she had been sent to say what she was saying before the head of state?
Wahome sits in the legislature. Why can't you bring a motion here on how to revive the economy? Why can't you bring a motion in the parliament to block Uhuru from becoming the prime minister? It's very simple. Why go and make noise outside there?
The statement by Wahome will no doubt continue to elicit public debate coming from essentially the president's political bedroom. Duncan Hemba, KTN News.
Right. Now, Honorable Ayub Savula giving some very interesting statements right there. I think a snap election would be rather radical. And joining the conversation to dig deeper into this talk on whether the president wants to extend his term limit or not is David Juman, Executive Director of Global Peace Foundation. Welcome to the conversation. Now, what's your take on that? First of all, we have Honorable Alice Wahome claiming that the president is plotting to cling on to power. Obviously, some have said he's too young. That Kotu Secretary General said that he's too young and therefore he should, in fact, stay on. But the Constitution has certain requirements about tenure, and therefore that would need some sort of radical change before it actually happens. And then there's the talk of the Prime Minister position being set aside for the President. What is your take on this speculation on whether the President wants to stay on or not?
Thank you, Trix. The name is Daniel Juma.
Oh, Daniel Juma.
Yeah. I think Alice Wahome's statement, I think when she released it, nobody expected that she will be doing that.
Yeah, it came out of left field.
It was very surprising, but I'd agree with my friend here that, you know, she's also strategizing. It's a strategy that she's using. And what I want to say is that Kenya is a constitutional democracy. And one of the benefits that we have from this democracy and from the second liberation is the freedom of speech and expression.
Yes.
And Alice Wahome and anybody else should not be stopped from exercising their freedom of speech and expression.
Right.
And actually, when that happened, so it just dawned on me that when you talk about democracy, especially internal democracy, that Jubilee is actually a democratic party where, you know, freedom of expression is not, you know, is not interfered with.
Right. So when we hear Honorable Savula talk about hired guns and these possibly dissidents, if you can call them that, do you feel they're just, you know, exercising their right?
I think for me, they're exercising their rights, and they have a free. One of the things that Kenyans don't have. Kenyans are going through difficult economic times.
Right.
But one of the things that we enjoy, which even East Africans don't enjoy.
Yes.
Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, they don't enjoy this kind of freedom of speech that we enjoy, that you can say anything to the president and that you can go back to your house and sleep with your family. But some of these things were not possible before. So for me, I think Honorable Savula is excited. He doesn't need to be excited. You know, why do we need a snap election for that?
Yes.
Because Alice Wahome said, spoke about a topic that indeed, you know, this is a topic that Kenyans should be talking about.
Yes.
A topic about changing the constitution is a topic that everyone should be talking about.
Yeah.
And the reason why some are not talking about it now is what you call political correctness. Because they're afraid, well, if I say this, then I will not be seen to be politically correct. So even within Jubilee, I think there are people who who would want to say something about that? But I think they're looking for someone who is courageous enough, who doesn't care to say it. And I think Alice Wahome is, like he said, is a lady who can say anything she wants.
But she is, as Mr. Weda put it, standing to gain by not being PC, as you say, because if it works out in her favor and the deputy president rises to power as president, or is in a favorable position, then she stands to win. So while she's being politically correct, it might be a strategy, right?
Yes.
Do you agree with it?
Yeah, she stands to gain, definitely. And yesterday, of course, I saw an article about the women from Central who are coming out strongly, who are coming out strongly to speak, who are not afraid to speak. And for them, and it's true that I think they're strategizing for 2022. They don't want to miss out in the next dispensation.
Yes.
And and in politics, if you are vocal, if you say things that other people are afraid to say, then people say that this is the person that can speak for the people.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's the strategy in politics.
Yeah. Mr. Weda, the snap elections, is that even a realistic?
I'll call that a sick joke. And it is very sad coming from a sitting member of parliament in the new year. In fact, if you want to know that things are bananas, then you see a sitting member of parliament, a deputy leader of a party that wants to take over power, talking about things that shows you somebody is not thinking. Number one, the president has no power to dissolve anything and to call anything. He can't call elections. The president can only resign if he wants to resign. And if he resigns, the deputy president will become president. So when a member of parliament who should know the law talks like that, then you know that something is deeply wrong in the body politic of their party and the country. Number two, we have only about less than 2 years to elections. The difference between general election and snap elections is not there. And I thought a member of parliament also knows the cycle. Now, if it's the deputy leader, that if Honorable Musalia Mudavadi is not there, then he will be the party leader and the presidential candidate and possibly a president, and he's talking like that, you know that something is very wrong. Number three, I wonder where, if Honorable Alice Wahome has spoken, surely that has not brought the country to ungovernable levels and whatever. He is also seeking publicity, but he's seeking publicity in a way that displays his ignorance. It's a sorrow. Imagine if he has a son or a daughter in first year college or in high school, and then they're seeing you on TV, and you are talking like up between the ears, as Dr. Makisa Kitui would say, between the ears there is low pressure. Then it will be very sad for the children. So I love the former Deputy Prime Minister Hon Musalia Mudavadi. He's tempered, he's brilliant, he's done a good job. But it appears that part of the reason why he's not performing well at the national level is he has the likes of Savula. They just talk and they say things which in my former life I would have called many words, but in this life I would not. Otherwise, there's no need for any elections other than the constitutionally provided for 2022.
Right.
And we prepare for it. If the president was to follow Sabula's example, he will just have to resign. And I can assure if he resigns, even for a day, the deputy president will take over the reins of power. And he will scatter the likes of in a short while. So let's not spend the new year, valuable new year, talking about those suggestions. The people where he comes from should call him and say, Mheshimiwa, can you go and talk sense in Parliament and talk sense to the people of Kenya? I thought he was going to talk about how our young people are going to form one, how we are going to meet the tax burdens so that the country is able to grow. But himself, he seems as confused as the Al-Shabaab themselves.
Mr. Juma, what's your take on the sentiments of the country being ungovernable and therefore we need a snap elections? Is it as random as Mr. Weda finds that suggestion?
No, I don't think so. The country is not ungovernable. If you ask me, I think the country is governable. The government is operating. Even the perceived differences between the president and his deputy, for me, I mean, I don't see it. I see the president and his deputy working together. The other day they were in meetings together. They attend cabinet meetings together. And yesterday I think the deputy president was somewhere in Botswana. So for me, these are politicians. And in politics, sometimes, most of the times, you don't always have to agree on an issue. You know, politics requires that you don't have to agree on an issue all the time. And that's why, for me, as I said earlier on, I think that the level of democracy in Jubilee, where people can, disagree, even with the president, and still remain in government. This is unprecedented. And this is one of the things that Kenyans should be happy about as a country, that we are a nation that can agree, that can ventilate on an issue. Issues such as the term limits, issues such as the changing of the constitution. People must talk about these issues. Whether in Jubilee, whether in opposition or not, people must talk about it. Actually, in the opposition, some of them are not talking just because they are perceived to be now in government, in quotes. But this is if somebody said these things like term limits in the time when, for example, Raila Odinga was deeply in the opposition, he would be now attacking Uhuru and saying, "How dare you say that? How dare you do that?"
This is true.
Yeah, but so people must not. We must not prevent our people from discussing, from talking about these issues. Because when it comes to the time when people are going for the referendum, these are the issues that people will be talking about. These are the issues that will make me and my brother here and other Kenyans to vote for a possible change of constitution. But is it somewhere that we want to go? Do we want to be like other neighboring countries, where the constitution is just changed, randomly? Just to please a few people. No, that is not where we want to go. I've said earlier on that this nation, especially now, we need to focus. Right? The president has a legacy. He has 2 years to go. People are not talking about the Big Four agenda now. For me, we should be talking about the Big Four agenda. We should be talking about how do we grow the economy? How do we control the issue of unemployment? The issue of the interest rates. Some of these things, these are the issues that we need to be talking about. And the likes of Honorable Savula, these are the issues that they should be focusing on. The issues that the common man cares about. Right now, as we're talking now, we have people struggling with school fees. They cannot take their children to school. But you hear someone talking about ungovernable. What do they mean?
Snap elections. Now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more for you on this particular discussion. Do not go too far. This is Morning Express.